Ladies and gentlemen, with Jeremy Dewitte scheduled for release soon, I thought I'd pull a script out of the archives that I wrote ages ago about another potential impersonator, someone I believe might run into the same problems Jeremy did, but in Georgia. While we on this channel were focused on Jeremy Dewitte and his Florida escapades, there was another company that grabbed the attention of some of my viewers, and they were kind enough to get me involved. It's my fault, not theirs, that I'm getting involved well after they told me about it. But before I explain the whole situation, there are 3 quick disclaimers I want to give. 1, I am not a lawyer. 2, although I'm unaware of any inaccuracies in this video, everything I say should be considered my personal opinion. And finally, I do not want you to engage in communication with this company or any employees. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Georgia Motor Escort Services is essentially what it sounds like, a motor escort service in Georgia. Although it no longer advertises all of this, when I first started looking into the company, they were advertising VIP escorts, funeral escorts, and even armed escorts with canines. And their Facebook page advertised location security, personal security solutions, and more. Now, funeral escorts don't require a license in the state of Georgia, although some counties or municipalities might. The state does, however, require a security business license and individual security licenses for armed security and for canine security work, which was still clearly being advertised. But surely, those employees, who are allegedly mostly former law enforcement or military, are licensed, right? Well, that's where things start getting interesting. We identified Daniel Haar as the owner of GMES and discovered that he had registered the LLC for both GMES and for Georgia Canine Training. Now, Georgia Canine Training's NAICS code, which is used for federal statistical data gathering, is listed as pet care. Sure, fine, that might be the appropriate code. However, GMES's NAICS code is not only a mouthful, it's also for support activities for road transportation, when it should actually, I think, be for funeral homes and funeral services, since civilian funeral escort must have a lead vehicle displaying a sign, pennant, flag, or other insignia furnished by a funeral home. They can only operate if contracted by a funeral home, so I would submit the argument they are an extension of funeral services. In fact, I discovered that an Anthony Ogletree, presumably unrelated to the officer Ogletree that was a thorn in Jeremy Dewitte's criminal enterprise, formed a funeral escort LLC in Cleveland, Ohio, using the Death Care Services subcode of the Funeral Homes and Funeral Services NAICS code, which, as a reminder, is a federal code, so I'm pretty sure the fact that Ogletree is in Ohio shouldn't be important. Pretty sure. Perhaps both myself and Mr. Ogletree are wrong, but may I remind you that GMES also advertised armed security work, something that has its own NAICS code. The fact that GMES didn't file their business under that code sure doesn't instill confidence that they have the licenses to conduct the services that were advertised. So let's keep looking into that. If security work is being conducted, there are a lot of rules that have to be followed by licensed security agents. For example, the uniform cannot be confusingly similar to any other police agency in the state of Georgia, and I would argue that this is an issue for the company. Quick! Which one's the police officer? I'll help you out. On the right, we have GMES. On the left, we have Peachtree City Police. Same style bikes, dark clothes, patches, similar helmets, and you know what else GMES has? A badge. A badge that says Motor Officer Traffic Control. Now, that badge does not appear to be by itself illegal in Georgia, and as far as I can tell, the employees don't deflect questions regarding their status as law enforcement like Jeremy Dewitte would. But similar to Dewitte, it's the totality of the look. Is this uniform too similar to uniforms worn by police agencies in Georgia? Now, that would be up for a court to figure out, but while they're figuring it out, I would like to draw attention to the vehicles used by GMES. According to GMES, their vehicles are former law enforcement vehicles, and do bear some designs, insignias, and phrases that you would find on real police vehicles, which may be relevant in a discussion about the intent of GMES's uniforms when it comes to resembling that of law enforcement. But moving past that, vehicles displaying the name of a licensed security company also have to conspicuously display the security license number, which is conspicuously missing. In their defense, these rules only apply to licensed security agencies, so if they aren't licensed, these rules may not apply to them. However, they are required to be licensed to conduct security escorts. Enough beating around the bush. Is the company licensed to conduct security? No, it would appear that they are not. A member of my Discord actually directly contacted GMES through Facebook and asked why they weren't licensed, and this was their response. Quote, "We do not advertise ourselves as a security company. We provide individual protective services." End quote. Folks, protective service is a security service. So a company that conducts those security services needs a security license. In the state of Georgia, the protections of person from death or serious bodily harm, which is presumably what armed individual protective services would entail, requires a private security business license. Let's not forget, GMES's Facebook page also advertised location security. You mean to tell me that that's not security? It has security in the name. Even GMES's pricing page on their website said they secure intersections, presumably to halt traffic in a manner that protects people from death or serious bodily harm. And I will admit, that one's a bit of a stretch on my part. I just had a lot of fun with it. But you can't deny that security services were being advertised when it comes down to the individual or location security. Also, I struggle to believe that they have the authority to secure intersections, despite what the badge says. So, if GMES wants to reach out to me about that, I'd love to have that conversation because I'm very, very curious. The question many of you probably have is, how does GMES try to get around this? Well, they pull a card from DeWitte's deck, the W-9 contractor card. But unlike DeWitte, this doesn't appear to be for tax evasion. Not that DeWitte was ever convicted for that, it just kind of looked that way. No, GMES appears to be attempting to claim that either the individuals are contracted to work for other entities, or the entities that are hiring the contractors are responsible for the security licenses. If GMES is part of that contract in any way, which seems likely, considering the fact that GMES is the one advertising the service, then GMES, as far as I know, must also have a security business license. Contracted or not, the employees of GMES are still required to receive specific training, have their backgrounds checked, and must acquire the appropriate licenses if armed, which is what is being advertised. Not to mention that on GMES's old website, they stated, "We don't require contracts for our clients." Our clients? Not somebody else's, ours. And just a heads up, if somebody says, "I'll pay you X amount of money to conduct a service at or within this time," that's still a contract. It's just verbal. If, and that's a big if, the company is actually accepting money to conduct security, then they can be charged with a misdemeanor for each day any security work is conducted. If they aren't conducting security and are merely advertising the service to make their company look more competent, then they could possibly be hit with a misdemeanor or civil penalties for false advertising. Either way, they lose. But it's a good thing they changed their website, right? If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content. This is not the last video I have planned on this company, so keep an eye out. Check out my Patreon for early access to scripts, my Etsy page for fun merch. You can find both those in the description of the video. And until the next time, be good, stay safe.